Hello, this is Rick Saltarelli with Salty Breeze Cruise Planners with this week's segment of Beyond Your Front Door. And today I do not have a guest, but I want to talk about a subject that is very near and dear to me, and that is Alaska. And Alaska is a place that you can visit so many different ways. And I know that a lot of times people think about going there on a cruise, and we are going to talk about that. But I do want to talk about some of the other ways you can experience this great frontier. So certainly you could drive there. It would be a long drive up the Alaska Highway. But if you were crossing in British Columbia or Alberta, you could also visit beautiful places like Banff and Lake Louise and Jasper on your way through northern British Columbia and then on up to Alaska. So you could certainly drive it, but just caution you that that is a long trip. Be great for somebody that has a lot of time on their hands or really wants to spend an extended vacation in Alaska. And then of course you could fly to Alaska and you could rent a vehicle. So primarily, people would fly either into Anchorage or into Fairbanks and rent a vehicle for the length of time that they want to be there. And that would be a pretty great vacation. You could also go any time of the year. So remember that Alaska is a 12-month vacation destination. We don't often think about that because cruises don't go there all the year. However, you can fly and drive in Alaska 12 months of the year. And then a third way that maybe you hadn't even thought about is on the Alaska Railroad. Now, it would really be more for those people that want to see the area between Fairbanks and Anchorage, but you could see the Kenai Peninsula, certainly see Denali, and you could spend extended times both in Anchorage and in Fairbanks that would not be traveling on the train. So it'd be a combination, perhaps even renting a car, or maybe just doing a lot of just sightseeing by walking around. But you could certainly travel between the major parts of Alaska on the Alaska Railroad. And they actually have some multi-day packages that would take you to both of those places and include staying inside Denali National Park. And then, of course, the fourth way that I was thinking about today that most people think about when they are going to Alaska is to go on a cruise. And it's no surprise that that is a way that a lot of people want to go because it is some of the most beautiful months of the year. So cruising really happens between May and September, although lately we have seen cruises into early October. So going during that time of year, you really would see all four seasons during those months. And knowing what you want to go to Alaska to see is going to be very, very important when you're planning an Alaskan cruise. But I do want to talk today about some of the variances there is because all cruises are not born the same. So there is definitely what we just call the round trip from either Vancouver or Seattle. And these are typically 7-night cruises that go part of the way up the Alaskan coast. And you're going to visit places like Juneau and Skagway and Ketchikan, perhaps a place like Icy Strait or Glacier Bay, one of the places that I highly recommend, or Sitka. And then you're going to come back to the same place that you departed from. Now, please know that if you are sailing out of Vancouver, you are almost always going to be doing an inside passage, which is between Vancouver Island and the British Columbia mainland. If you sail out of Seattle, there is the chance that you might be doing an inside passage, but could be also going on the outside of Vancouver Island. The waters out there could be maybe a little more rough because it is the Pacific Ocean. Maybe not something you want to be concerned about, but for anybody that wants to see some of those beautiful pictures of the inside passage, you really want to make sure you know ahead of time which way that the ship is going. And then one of the other ways that you can do Alaska is by doing what we call either an open jaw or a northbound or a southbound cruise. And these typically are only going to be going from Vancouver and either Whittier or Seward in Alaska. So these cruises may start from Vancouver and go northbound, or they can start basically from the airport area of Anchorage, where you would take a bus down to either Seaward or to Whittier, and then you would begin your cruise and you would go southbound. The advantage of these cruises is not only do you see all those places that I mentioned before, but you would also see more of the shoreline of Alaska, and you would increase your opportunity to see more wildlife, especially if you wanted to see whales. So the more time you're spending on the water in the northern part of Alaska, you are going to see or perhaps have the opportunity to see more wildlife. And then the way that I really feel people really want to consider doing Alaskan cruise is by doing that open jaw, but also putting on a either what's called a land and sea or a cruise tour, where you are combining days on land along with the 7-night cruise. And these are typically 3 nights all the way up to 7 or 8 nights. And all of those extra nights are spent on land. And most of those trips are going to include places like Fairbanks, places like Denali National Park, where you will get to see Mount McKinley, the highest point in the United States, the highest mountain in North America, and then see Anchorage. But while you're in those areas, you would have a chance to go and see some extended areas that are outside of Anchorage and outside of Fairbanks. And if you were to go later in the season, let's say after Labor Day, you would increase your opportunity to see northern lights. And your best opportunity is going to be a little further north, and certainly when the sun has gone down. So as the days get shorter, there's a much better chance that you're going to see northern lights. But as we always say to people, weather permitting. So a great Alaskan cruise tour or land and sea vacation would most likely start in a place like Fairbanks, spend a day or so there, come down through Denali, spend a couple of nights at the lodges there, and then come down into Anchorage. A part of this trip would be on the Alaskan Railroad, especially in those glass roofed or glass domed rail cars, just an amazing experience. And either by bus or train down to Whittier or Seaward, where you would board your ship and then do the 7-night cruise, ending up in Vancouver. Now, I know a lot of people, they prefer to have that southbound itinerary, but if you are planning a vacation like this, think about doing the northbound, because not only will you have that great time on board the ship, and typically the first day will be a very relaxing day. That's a great way to start your vacation, but you are getting yourself ready for everything that Alaska has to show you. So when you get off the ship, in either Whittier or Seaward and start making your way north, either to Anchorage or over to Denali, you will be ready for the wildlife that you're going to see. So if you're interested in whales and bald eagles and bears and elk and caribou, this is certainly a vacation that you do not want to miss out on. And as I close, I just want to say that when I'm chatting to people and they express interest in an Alaskan vacation, the things that they tell me that they want to go see are just about always high mountains, glaciers and snow, and wildlife. So if that sounds like an experience that you want to have, please give us a call. At Salty Breeze Cruise Planners, we help create lifelong lasting memories, and it starts with a call to us at 888-332-8202.